Hey everybody, welcome. I'm back again, and since I last recorded a video in this room, it's got a bit dark because it's winter now. Clearly, it's been raining most of the afternoon, but what can you do? So what I wanted to talk about today is what some people call gender fluid. Now, in previous videos, I've talked about cisgender, which is the same gender as your sex being what you were assigned at birth, and the gender being how you feel, how you identify. So cisgender is the same between your birth and how you feel, how you identify, and transgender is the opposite in a gender binary, which I'll come on to in a minute. Trans means across from, so the opposite of what you were assigned at birth. Now, gender fluid isn't quite so easy to explain. Gender fluid is when your identity kind of changes kind of day to day, hour to hour, and what I mean by that is you don't see yourself as rigidly male or female, whether that's trans or cisgender, but also that this isn't the same. So you might actually one day identify yourself as 100% male, or you might identify as 100% female one day. But it's not a choice you're making, it's kind of how your brain is working that day. This isn't really the same as non-binary, although it's definitely on the same kind of area, kind of spectrum. So non-binary would be that you kind of feel not 100% female or not 100% male, but somewhere in the middle. So therefore you're not in this gender binary. Now that may not be even a part of one another, it may be agender, and all agender means is not gendered. A meaning not, gender, gender, not gender. So on your spectrum, with male at one end and female at the other end, if you're not agendered, then you're likely to be on somewhere on this scale. I see myself as 100% male, and the gender I was assigned at birth is also male, therefore I'm a cisgender male, and I also am binary gendered in that respect. I'm not non-binary and I'm not gender fluid. And sure, 90% even, maybe even more of the population feel that way, that they feel binary gendered into what they were assigned. So great, you're either here or you're here. But gender fluid people could be anywhere on this scale from here to here at any time, and it's not static, it's not on the same place all the time. But here's something interesting as well. You might find that somebody is almost exclusively on the male side of this spectrum, or similarly you might find they are predominantly female orientated, but they don't necessarily stay 100% female all the time, so they kind of go up down like this on the spectrum. This is the basic TLDR of this. Somebody's gender isn't necessarily static, just like their sexuality, just like the things they like, the favourites they have, they kind of move on. So when I've previously talked about pronouns and the default of them being they, then that's very important that you ask somebody what their pronouns are. If they're on this side of the spectrum, the male side of the spectrum, they might actually like to be called he all the time, or they might like to be called she all the time on this side of the spectrum, or they might like to be called she all the time on the entire spectrum. It depends on the individual and their own preference in that particular respect. So what do they prefer to be called? She, he, they, or some other pronoun. And people might present differently on different days depending on how they feel that day. So you might see somebody wearing makeup one day because they're feeling more feminine that day, or you might see them wearing a baseball cap and some typically masculine clothing, like, I don't know, a sweat top or something like that when they're on their more masculine days. And I understand this may not be easy to understand first off, maybe if this is the first time that you've heard this, but it's just important to understand that somebody is how they feel, and nobody's doing it for attention, especially if you're gender fluid, because it's really hard to understand for people who don't understand anything outside of the binary, haven't been shown anything outside of the gender binary before. I will link to a couple of videos that I found in the description about this that explain it better than I did, but I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, then do give it a like. You can do that just down below. I do make videos every single week, so subscribe so you don't miss a thing, and I shall see you next time. Bye bye.